What's good, y'all? It's your boy BioSpider 3.0, keeping the action going with the first series of lyrics and lyric breakdowns for my sophomore album, Silk Made Volume 1. Alright, so I told you guys that I was going to do some new content, a little, non action figure related content. And I thought we'd kick it off by doing some more lyric breakdowns. I did one on the channel so far. That was for The Kick by XV. If you haven't seen that, be sure to check that one out. I'll have it in the description. But today I thought we'd switch it up just a little bit. And I thought I'd do a lyric breakdown of the first song off my sophomore album, which is, again, Silk Made Volume 1. That's where your boy kind of, established himself as the Spider-Man of hip-hop. You know what I'm saying? Spider-Man's always been my personal favorite hero. Like, he's always been the one that I felt like I could relate to the most, as a kid and all the way through my adulthood. I've always loved Spider-Man and just like everything that he stands for, his suit, his aesthetics, his style, everything about him I always loved. And I guess like what made him my favorite hero is the fact that when he's not in costume, he just feels like a very normal person, like a very down to earth, humble guy. And, I always felt like I could relate to that sentiment. So, I just felt, I always had kind of like a nerdy disposition as a kid. I was a bit shy as well, and didn't always make money. It took me a little while before I got my first job. My confidence, wasn't always the best. But yeah, so I always found like similarities and things that I could relate to when it came to Spider-Man. So that's why he's always been my personal favorite hero. And I grew up watching the 90s cartoon, and as I got a little bit older I started watching the new animated series. I remember back when video stores were still a thing, I would go to Lincoln Video and rent the new animated series. They had it like on DVD. And then some years later in like elementary I got a PSP. And I remember they used to like have movies for the PSP, and I actually had like it was like I think season 1 of the new animated series of Spider-Man. I used to watch it on my PSP. So good times, man, good stuff. I'm rambling, but basically, I'm just gonna. I thought what I'd do for this is I actually don't have the full lyrics written out on my docs. I used to have them on my computer, but I actually lost the Google Docs that had them all written out. When I wrote it all out the first time, I actually lost that doc. I'll talk more about that later. That'll be another story in a future video. But yeah, I basically lost all the lyrics in my Google Docs. So thankfully, I had written it all out, on paper before I lost the doc. And so thankfully, I still have all the lyrics with me. So I'm gonna basically go ahead and rap my verses like a cappella, just so you guys can get a feel of like the verses, like what they sound like, how I rap them out and the actual song. And then I'll have the actual song like with the music and everything linked in the description if you guys want to check that out. Again, the title of the track is called Who Am I? All right, and if you've seen Spider-Man, you probably know why I called it that, right? But yeah, we'll get into that more. But yeah, I'm basically just gonna wrap it out a cappella. And then in this video, I only have so much time, unfortunately, so I'll probably only be able to break down maybe the first and second verse. Maybe like I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna get to the third verse, but I might not even get to the second. But for sure, I'll try to break down at least the first verse in this video, and then we'll do a part 2 and part 3 if need be. But I'll try to get the entire song done in part 2. So that's the plan. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. All right. So yeah, this is the first track off the sophomore album, Silk Made Volume 1. It is called Who Am I? And it goes a little something like this. Alright, so this is the intro. Who am I? You sure you want to know? The story of my life is not for the faint of heart. With every page of art, I harness the pain in life to face the dark. That non-aging light that you see, somebody had to create a spark. I'm underground as can be, fortified in this basement till God tears the place apart. On me, let's get it. So here's verse 1. Yeah, it was time to rise up, and I bet you more than $5 you heard this story before. An underdog soldier who doesn't incite conflict but ready when reporting for war. Started off as a kid, a little awkward and shy. Time flew by, now he gets the most deliberate respect when he talks to you guys. Praying with God and he offered his time. dedicated to convos with the world, so he gets lost in the rhymes. The kid was me, and I focused on different things than the gossip, rumors, or the posts that you read. More to myself and remained hopeful instead. I already had books in my face before I was social on the web, so I'm used to being cast as an outsider, a recluse in nature, but attended high school as a house spider. End result of a genetic experiment gone wrong or an accident gone right. Being selfish felt like a fatal mistake that could cut off the ones that he loved from a long life. Forced to think about his actions all night, figures like the ones he used to play with in his room under a small light. A hero fanatic who wanted as little of the static brought to him. Wouldn't stand against the bully, so he hit the pad and it stuck. He was lost again. Could it be better to be an airhead? Nah, he just forgot to vent. Off to Collins for some drawing and trying to talk some sense until I dropped the pen. Hold up. So that's verse 1, right? And then it goes into like the music where, like a hook or a chorus would be, but it's just like a straight instrumental. So like that plays for a little bit, and then I jump back in verse 2. So here goes verse 2. Back to that boy Colin, my best friend, as if he was the Ned of this story, far beyond just the guy in the chair. If I needed him backing me up through a verse, he'd make it more than excellent for me. Sudden blessings of a style that was never meant to torment, but get to testing us and you'll find our inventory's quite enormous. I'm a young scientist and I invent, stay cooking in the lab like Breaking Bad, developed a special chemical concoction, my lifeline in a battle, and they want to know how I get through it. I get real technical with the physics, and I use web fluid. Guess you was tired of trying to figure out how someday you'd be on your own, trying to make ends meet or end up paying the price. Another day in the life till I was given powers that I acquired as a later surprise. And yet somehow I still feel like I was born with a super soldier serum or high intensity formula, natural performance enhancers while I'm searching for my origins answers, keeping up my conditioning under abnormal circumstances to want to hurt my chances of being better. I became a vigilante that was solely out for revenge, gave into a rage I hope that I don't salvage again. Working to save, and I stay up hours on end, way further than words on a page. Y'all can't see me, but know I'm there, like when you hear it, the sound of the wind. This ain't for personal gain, the fancy shirts or the chains. I'm trying to learn a new language, let it surf through your veins. Mary Jane to me, below the surface is plain. I'm more into women that be really working their brains. Thank God for an MCU debut, mysterious, sexy, and a poet. Baby, I'm an MC too, and I bet you these kids know it. No shade to the original interpretation, I'm just saying, if somebody's going to be ringing my cell phone, I'd much rather it be Michelle Jones. Trying to adapt to my newfound instincts, what would Uncle Ben think? You don't have an Uncle Ben. Oh yeah, Spiderson's tingling. Gotta go take care of the evils really out to cause some harm. Always there for my people. If I show up, it's probably not a false alarm. So yeah, my bad, I was slipping up a little bit on that second verse, but yeah, that's basically verse 2. And then it goes back into the music for like the hook. There's like a little bit of music playing here. All right, and then here we go into the final verse, verse 3. Let me pull things into full swing. I'm gonna be honest, look, my life is a walking comic book. I gotta be in the lead with a speed that'll leave even Sonic shook. Acrobatic combatant, I made flipping a habit. Flying through the city with some intricate gadgets. Wall crawler, a strong but small brawler who you don't want at your neck like a dog collar. Offensive tactics, I mentioned that which comes off as a montage of mad quips to get you laughing, distracts them from the fact that my diction of backflips plays a major role in the beat down like an ad-lib. Among my amazing abilities is agility. With great power comes the great responsibilities of a real MC. Feel the need to maneuver in silence. Sometimes it felt like I even had to hide the mask, like all eyes on me and the world was looking through a magnifying glass. My bad. My rite of passage into the rap game despite my past. Global Q&A. And I just might answer many questions you like to ask. Now the people like, for all that we know, he could have an alter ego. Even a burning building don't want the smoke with me like Las Vegas casinos. The flames, I'm trying to put it out, but I keep setting the rooms ablaze. The gift and curse of my youthful ways. Record breaker, how I go defeating my enemies. The world wasn't prepared or aware of my secret identity. Go from writing a 5-page paper to soaring by skyscrapers. I still had a fear of heights when I dived off the Empire State. And there's like a little pause right here, and you hear a little sound effect like I'm falling, like I just dived off the Empire State. And then it gets in, the music kind of switches up right here. And then I'm back into the verse. Probably stop at the barbershop on the way home and get a slight taper. Constantly evolving, inspired by Maguire, Garfield, and Tom Holland. Oh, hold up, my mom's calling. And then you hear a sound effect like my phone's ringing, I pick it up. I say hello. My mom's saying a bunch of like gibberish on the line, basically telling me to get some eggs at the store. And I'm like, okay, eggs, got it. Anything else? And then I think, I'm trying to remember, it's been a while. What did I say right here? I think I just said, yeah, like eggs, got it. Eggs, got it. Anything else? And then I tell her like, sounds good. I probably got the words a little bit wrong, but you guys will hear it if you check out the track. I'll have it linked. But I say something like, sounds good. I'll see you at home. Love you. Just some basic stuff. And then I say, let's see, where is it? Okay, my bad. I realized I didn't have this part written out, but so yeah, this is not on my. I'm looking at my written lyrics right now, but I realized I didn't write this part. I wrote it, but I wrote it out on a separate piece of paper. But right there, I say something like, "I just took that call upside down, one hand on the line, high velocity." I might be saying this out of order. My bad, y'all. But I say something like, yeah, I just took that call upside down, one hand on the line, high velocity, my backpack on, and to be able to do all of that without even falling, right? And then and tell the kingpin he better watch his back, even with no powers. I bet you I could beat his thugs with adhesive gloves. Just leave it up to me. I promise I got this. Ain't none of you villains a threat. I'm ill and protect the citizens like Dylan Minnette. Y'all better get the message quick and give these civilians a rest. Let them go, like a bar you held onto but realized was too simple to stretch. I raised it too high anyways. Come on now, terrorizing the innocent. Should be trying to find a way to communicate so we can feel your depth. Fulfill your destiny instead of treating your problems like bills of debt that spill and collect. A webhead is here for you. Trust me, I got problems too. Deadlines and dollars due. Ironically, I'm making headlines with all of you. I appreciate the ones that root for me and say that I'm a solid dude. Especially when there's the J.J. Jamesons of the world who won't give it a rest, try and slander your name like you only care for the fame. Many say the public menace convinced them otherwise without saying a word. I guess conviction was still on his breath. Life's like an equation these days, and thank God I know the math. That's why I'm never holding back when I snap on them like my photographs. I'm a solo act, and I've been known to trap drug dealers before they even get a chance to hold the cash. A lot of arachnid love. A living no-life shack reaction. That's tough. Creatively spazzing, you think I imagine dragons with all this radioactive blood. Let me thank Stan the man for a feeling I've never felt before. Salute and a handshake from heaven. Excelsior. See, I devised a plan, and I pray that the Holy Spirit helps me to do what only a fighter can. Gotta swing. Who am I? I think they know by now. I'm Spider-Man. Alright, so yeah, there it goes. That's the last verse. So yeah, it is a 3-verse song. Yeah, my bad. I was slipping up because I just realized looking back on my first lyrics that I wrote out that I actually didn't have some of the lines that, made the final cut. But some of them I did write on another piece of paper, so they weren't there, and I was like remembering them, but I was like, where are they on the paper, So that's my bad for the slip-ups right there. But yeah, that's basically that's the entire song. So that's the first, or all 3 verses really. And so yeah, so I'll go ahead and break down the first verse for you guys. Just basically show you like what some of the lines meant. I tried to put, as an artist, or as an MC, as I like to say, I'm somebody that grew up on, Eminem and, a lot of those like hardcore like lyricist guys. So I love to put entendres and like double meanings, things like that when I can, wordplay. I like to have fun with rap. I like to have fun with words, so I try to experiment, as much as I can. So I try to put a lot of that into this song to kind of like establish myself. So yeah, we'll get into that right now. Let me move Spidey out the way real quick. So yeah, we'll break down the first verse. So here's my lyric breakdown for verse 1. I know it's kind of small, but I'll read this out to you guys. I'll try to zoom in. Maybe you guys can see it better on here. I mean, I should probably do it from my phone, huh? Not the computer. So let's see. Let me try to zoom in a little bit. All right. So yeah, hopefully you guys are able to read that. But if not, I know it is kind of small, but I'm gonna basically read it to you anyway, so you guys won't miss anything. But basically, my lyric breakdown for verse 1. So this highlighted section is, the part where I said, the kid was me, and I focused on different things than the gossip, rumors, or the post that you read. More to myself and remained hopeful instead. I already had books in my face before I was social on the web, so I'm used to being cast as an outsider, a recluse in nature, but attended high school as a house spider. All right, so as far as that part, I'm just basically going to read this out to you. So I was always a more reserved, introverted kid growing up. So I was definitely considered a nerd by relative societal standards, and was into things like video games, science, and curious about the mechanics of things. Excuse me. I didn't have social media until about my sophomore year of high school. While a lot of kids by that time had MySpace, LimeWire, etc., I didn't have any of that, right? So, and then I also wasn't into like gossip or rumors. It's high school, kids talk, and there's always gossip going around. I was never really into that kind of stuff, but so I wasn't into gossip or rumors about people, because other people will judge you off of things that might not even be true, right? And I think everybody deserves a fair shake. So I like to kind of get the story from the person, like the original person, right, from the source, and like at least get a sense of their story before I hear it from a bunch of like other people. And then my mom and my sister had me, my mom had me and my sister reading books from an early age to kind of help us build a good vocabulary. My mom always wanted us to be very strong with, vocabulary, and, just having a lot of words to pull from. So she had us reading books very early on. And so that was kind of the line where, yeah. I focus on different things in the gossip, rumors, of the post that you read. This line, sorry. I already had books in my face before I was social on the web. So that's supposed to be a little play on words for Facebook, right? I already had books in my face before I was social on the web. So, the web being the internet, right? But then also web as in like a spider web, right? Because I'm Spider-Man. And then so I already had books in my face. So like Facebook was like one of the first like really big social media sites, right? But at least like one of the most like popular. But like I said, I really wasn't on Facebook until like my sophomore year of high school. My friends actually convinced me to finally get one. And before that, I really didn't have any social media, so all my contact was just by having like people's phone numbers, and just meeting people at school, like getting to know them, or going outside. So that was really how I did things. So that's basically what that line means. And then let's see, what else did I say right here? Let's see. Yeah, and because of my nerdy disposition, I was an afterthought to the cool kids, right? Like an outsider to their circle. So, obviously TV and movies exaggerate, like, the popular kids and the nerdy kids, like they always take it to the extreme, right? But in high school, there definitely were like cliques, at least where I went. And I feel like just about like any high school around here, like there's always been, it's always been kind of cliquey. So you always have your groups of like the really popular, extroverted, well-known kids. You got the kids that are not so, outspoken and kind of to themselves. I was kind of part of that group. Not like, I wouldn't say I was like so shy to the extent that I couldn't like, I was like terrified to talk to people. I had my group of friends, right? And we were all like pretty comfortable and like loud with each other and whatnot. But we did kind of like stay to our own circle. So, I was definitely somebody that didn't necessarily like venture out or like, go into like different crowds, even though I noticed like, obviously I'd noticed them and like I would, peep some of the things that they did. And honestly, a lot of kids in high school were just, jerks, man. So I really didn't find a desire to like want to hang out with like certain people. But I was overall, I was really happy with the group of friends that I had. And so I'm glad that, I'm blessed to say that even after all these years, a lot of those friends I still have to this day, even if we're like, not as close or we don't talk as much. we're all graduated from, or gone to college and done different things. But a lot of my like really close friends I still keep in touch with. So that's definitely a blessing, and I'm very thankful for that. And I think anybody in that same situation should definitely be very grateful, and for to have that in their life, because that is really special when you think about it, to have friends that last and are with you for so long. But anyways, so yeah, that's kind of like what that was referencing. And then so yeah, I chose to use the word cast because this album is like my life in movie form. So the line where I say, where is it? I'm used to being cast as an outsider, so like kind of like an outcast, right? But then if you think of this as like a movie, right? Like I said, like my life is like a movie, so it's like I'm being cast, right? Like a star, I'm being cast as the outsider. So I'm literally being cast as like the person that's, outside of the normal circle, or like whatever it was. So that's kind of why I chose to use that. And then let's see. And then also, webs get cast out of a spider. So, going back to the whole spider theme and the web, it was just kind of like following, because the I'm used to being cast as an outsider line was a follow-up to the line where I said I already had books in my face before I was social on the web, right? So I'm used to being cast as an outsider. So that's basically just kind of like connecting that whole thought right there. And then recluse is a double, like, right? So here's our first, I think, yeah, our first double entendre, because it represents my quiet and to myself nature, as well as a brown recluse spider, which packs a serious bite, right? If you guys know anything about, brown recluse spiders, they do have a nasty bite. They have like neurotoxins that can actually like, cause necrosis in the tissues of, where they bite you. So you can actually like, your tissue and skin cells will break down at the site of the bite, and it can like spread. And so I was basically, using that as like a metaphor or comparison to myself as I was developing my rhyme skills, right? So around like the beginning of high school is like around the time that I really started getting like more heavily into rap. And my best friend Colin, he used to live like right across the street from me. And he would come over a lot, and we would just be in the garage looking up, different rappers and ciphers and things like that. And we would just like, he actually wrote his songs out first, and then he used to like come over and show me his songs. And I remember reading them, and I would just be like so blown away. I was like, damn, bro, like you wrote this, like, you know what I mean? Like he used to write some incredible lyrics, especially for how young we were. And he was just so complex with like his thought, even back then when we weren't that good. But I remember being like blown away. So eventually I started writing my own stuff. I was heavily into Eminem. I remember like watching 8 Mile with him and everything, and so I started writing some of my own songs. And I sucked at first, but I'll say that we both came a long way from where we started. So all that to say, the recluse is kind of like a comparison to myself as like a brown recluse having a nasty bite, like with the rhymes and everything. But I'm also like a recluse, like I'm away from the rest of the crowd. And then I was more like a house spider, right? A house spider which has like far less of a threat from its bite, so it doesn't leave nearly as nasty a bite as like a brown recluse, right? But and then that's also a metaphor for saying that I was a homebody. So like I was the house spider, right? I'm Spider-Man, but I was somebody that liked to stay in the house a lot. I really didn't go out all that much in high school. I didn't go to like parties and stuff like that. I went to like the mall or like little gatherings with my friends, but I really wasn't like a heavy like party person. You never caught me. I'll put it like this: I was a good boy. I didn't drink until I was 21. All right, I didn't have my first drink until I was 21 years old. So I was I'm not gonna say I'm a saint, or I was a saint back then, but I wasn't somebody that like did drugs or alcohol while I was in school, at least not until like college. And even college, I only drank. I never did drugs. So I've never smoked anything, never done any of that. All right. So, just so I didn't need to tell you guys that, but I mean, since we are breaking down this song, I figured I'd tell you guys that, yeah, I've had drinks, but I've never done like any drugs of any kind. You know, unless you consider alcohol a drug, because I guess it technically is, right? It's a depressant. But anyways, so yeah, so that's basically what that whole recluse line was about. So you know, I was a big homebody, so that's why that last line I said, a recluse in nature, but attended high school as a house spider. So I was the guy like normally in his house unless I'm like meeting up with my friends or maybe going to one of their houses to hang out. And yeah, so that's, let's see. Dang, nigga, we got a lot more to break down. All right, so I'm actually gonna run out of time on this video. I got to clear up some things on my phone, make a little more space for this, but we will get into the we're still on verse 1, and I actually have a lot more to break down. So yeah, this series may take a little bit, so hopefully you guys will be willing to bear with me on this. But yeah, so I'm probably gonna end it right here. There's no point for me to really keep going because this thing is gonna cut off on me like in about like a minute or so. So yeah, in part 2 we'll get into like the rest of verse 1. I'll try to make sure we get through the entire verse 1 and hopefully even verse 2, and then I'll upload probably part 3 to finish to break down the last verse for you guys. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this first part. Leave a comment down below, let me know your thoughts, what you think. If you're into rap, if you're into hip-hop, especially if you like enjoy lyricism, let me know what you're thinking so far. Yeah, just leave your thoughts down below, and we'll be sure to get into more. We'll finish up verse 1 in part 2. So thank you guys so much for watching this part 1. I appreciate it. This has been your boy Vol.1 Pt.1. I'll see you later. Take care.